back to NaturalOne, the YouTube channel equivalent of a hotel continental breakfast. Technically it's free, but then it turns out to just be 3-day-old cereal. Today, we're firing up the next entry in our Fantastic Four series, literally, with Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. He's fast, flashy, and thinks he's cooler than he is, which is impressive for a guy constantly engulfed in flames. Let's turn up the heat and find out how to build Marvel's favorite flammable himbo in D&D 5e.
Using fire's not exactly the recommended way to get rid of me, but...
Flame on! But, with some actual stat plating first, Johnny Storm might be a human bonfire, but he's still gotta fit into 5e's nice little boxes. So let's box him up and light the whole thing on fire. We're starting off hot with a 15 in charisma. This guy's a walking cologne ad. Cocky, charming, and usually surrounded by people who either want to date him or punch him. Sometimes both. He's the kind of guy who starts arguments with reporters and ends up on magazine covers. Next up, a 14 in dexterity. Johnny flies like a fighter jet and dodges like a guy who's very used to getting slapped by Sue. He zips through the sky, weaves between buildings, and makes looking cool look effortless. A 13 in Constitution comes next, because flying at high speeds while literally on fire isn't exactly low impact. The guy shrugs off hits, heat, and hecklers. You don't get the name the Human Torch without some serious endurance. We're putting the 12 into Intelligence. Johnny's not Reed, but he's no idiot. He's got piloting skills, solid instincts, and a tactical edge in combat. Once he actually starts taking it seriously, that is. Then a 10 in Strength. He's fit, he's toned, he can punch things while they're burning, but lifting cars isn't really his style. He'd rather fly above the fight looking fabulous. Finally, an 8 in Wisdom. Look, Johnny's not exactly known for his restraint or long-term planning. Consequences are Sue's job to worry about.
Am I a hotshot? Yeah, I'm a hotshot.
Johnny's a variant human, because, did you expect something different? We bump up his charisma to 16 and his dexterity to 15. Because this guy is all style, all flash, and somehow always lands on his feet. Speaking of feats, we're grabbing Elemental Adept, Fire Edition. Because if you thought Johnny was going to let a little thing like fire resistance get in the way of a dramatic entrance, you haven't been paying attention. And the extra skill is Persuasion. Obviously. Whether he's sweet-talking the press, charming bystanders, or flirting mid-battle, Johnny's got the gift of fire and the gab. Not the spell, just to be clear. Just good old personality. Johnny Storm is an entertainer, because of course he is. This guy treats superheroing like a highlight reel, and life like a press junket. Acrobatics and performance are basically his native languages. He flips through burning buildings and strikes a pose on the way out. He also gets a disguise kit, which we're saying is just his Fantastic Four suit. And a musical instrument, which, based off vibes, I'm going to assume he's one of those guys who just has to bring out a guitar in the middle of a party. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
So what are your superhero names?
They call me the Human Torch. Ladies call me Torch.
We're kicking things off at level 1 with a dip into fighter. Because before he was lighting up the sky, Johnny Storm was lighting up press conferences with his smug grin and six-pack abs. We're grabbing the superior technique fighting style with commanding presence as our maneuver, letting Johnny flex his charisma even in combat, urging allies to greatness. Or at least to stand back while he turns the battlefield into a barbecue. Second wind makes sure he's not too winded after showboating, and for skills, intimidation and perception are perfect. One for smirking his way through interrogations, the other for clocking cameras, fans, and villains in the crowd. At level 2, we grab Action Surge, because sometimes you just need to throw out one more fireball-shaped tantrum before the dust settles. Whether it's a last-second save or just overkill, Johnny's not one for restraint. Level 3 brings in the real heat as we hop into Sorcerer and choose the Storm Sorcery subclass. Yeah, we considered Pyromancer or a homebrew Firebender thing, but we like our builds playable without the DM sign. Plus, Storm is literally in his name. Come on. This gives us Wind Speaker, which is less about communication and more about Johnny's uncanny ability to say something in any language and still sound like a tool. Tempestuous Magic lets him hover dramatically before or after a spell. So basically he's levitating anytime he casts anything, because Johnny lives for flair. Cantrips like Firebolt, Control Flames, and Create Bonfire are basically his idea of finger guns, while Light makes sure you can still see him smirking in the dark. Burning Hands gives us that initial wave of flame, and Mage Armor keeps him from getting singed by his own ego. At level 4, we get sorcery points thanks to Font of Magic, meaning Johnny now has a literal internal combustion engine. Also, he picks up Silvery Barbs, a spell that's basically the magical version of, actually, he casts it every time someone tries to outshine him, which is pretty often. Then at level 5, we hit Sorcerer level 3, unlock Meta Magic, and pick up Quicken Spell and Empowered Spell. Because Johnny doesn't wait his turn, and he doesn't do weak damage. Quicken Spell turns him into a flame-throwing blender, and Empowered lets him make sure those fire dice hit like a sunburn from hell. Plus, with Scorching Ray added to his arsenal, he's now one bad breakup away from being a walking wildfire. At level 6, Johnny hits Sorcerer level 4, and we're tossing that ability score improvement into Dexterity and Constitution. Because staying hot takes both physical grace and, well, not immediately combusting from your own spells. Up to a 16 in Dexterity and 14 in Constitution means he can strut shirtless into combat and still dodge half the blows. And Instagram DMs. For spells, we grab Dancing Lights, which he 100% uses like a human lava lamp for mood lighting, and Agonizer Scorcher, which is perfect for putting lines of fire all over the battle map. At level 7, Johnny gains Magical Guidance, meaning when he fails a roll, he can literally burn a sorcery point to try again, just like how he handles relationships. And now, Fireball. The classic, the standard, the inevitable, oh, was I not supposed to vaporize that building? I mean, it's Johnny Storm in a nutshell, come on now. Level 8 is where things get a little... Avatar? No, not the blue ones, the bending ones. With Heart of the Storm, casting lightning or thunder spells zaps nearby enemies for free damage. And we get resistance to those types too. Look, if fire and lightning are cousins in Avatar The Last Airbender, then we're allowed to use this to make Johnny more explosive. That's the rule. Storm Guide gives him control over rain and wind, mostly so weather never kills his vibe, or his flame. And Ashlard Stride lets him blaze across the battlefield in a streak of dragonfire without provoking opportunity attacks. At level 9, Wall of Fire enters the arena, giving him the power to literally cut the battlefield in half with a flaming wall of don't even think about it. Whether it's battlefield control or dramatic flair, it's Johnny's bread and butter. And finally, level 10 hits with a charisma bump to 18. Because, let's be honest, he was getting by on sheer bravado already. Now he's actually got the stats to back it up. Plus, we grab haste. Because Johnny's not content with just setting you on fire. He wants to do it twice as fast. Or at least that's the excuse I have to put it on this build. At level 11, we unlock Immolation. The spell that basically says, what if Fireball, but personal? Perfect for Johnny, who's never been subtle and sees no problem with turning every boss fight into a one-man fireworks show. Level 12 brings us to Sorcerer level 10 and a brand new meta magic option, Heightened Spell. Now, when Johnny really wants something to land, say a Fireball, Immolation, or a Flaming Wall of Vengeance, he can make it very hard to dodge. We also snag True Strike, the best cantrip in the game, and then there's Melf's Minute Meteors, 6 tiny fireballs spinning around him like deadly, flaming entourage drones.
They're gonna send me on a project.
Like Ben?
We should use these powers to do something.
Level 13 lands Investiture of Flame, which basically turns Johnny into, well, the Human Torch. Resistance to fire, immunity to fire damage, flames wreathing his body that hurt enemies who touch him, and a Flame Breath style attack every turn. He's not just on fire, he is fire now. And at this point, I think we're legally required to say, flame on. At level 14, another ability score improvement lets us cap dexterity to 18. So Johnny is now officially too fast, too flashy, and too furious for most enemies to handle. This is the part in the movie where the CGI budget triples and everything explodes behind him in slow motion. Finally, level 15 brings Firestorm, a spell that lets him call down a literal supernova across a 100+ foot area, sculpting a fiery death grid however he sees fit. Forest? Gone. Castle? Ashes. Emotional support NPC? Shouldn't have stood too near the bad guys. Oh well. At level 16, Sorcerer level 14, and this brings us Storm's Fury, which means we need to put on our Lightning is totally fire as Zula used it hats on again. When someone's dumb enough to hit him in melee, he can lash out with lightning damage and try to launch them up to 20 feet away. In other words, punch Johnny, get launched. Level 17 lights up the board with Sunburst, a massive radiant explosion that blinds enemies and makes Johnny feel like the human equivalent of staring directly into the sun. It's not technically a fire spell, but let's be honest, it feels fiery enough for Johnny's brand. Plus, it fits the whole I burn so bright it hurts to look at me vibe he has going on. Level 18 caps our constitution at 16, giving Johnny just a little more juice to survive the massive collateral damage he leaves in his wake. Because if you're going to blow up half the battlefield, it's good to have the hit points to walk away looking smug about it. At level 19, we unlock Meteor Swarm, the final form of Johnny Storm. 4 40-foot radius spheres of total devastation, each one more extra than the last. It's not just overkill, it's personalized apocalyptic overkill. We also pick up Careful Spell, so we can selectively not murder his teammates. You're welcome, Reed. Finally making him slightly more of a team player. And finally, level 20 caps things off with Wind Soul, which gives Johnny permanent flight and full immunity to lightning and thunder damage. Honestly, Johnny's never been more himself, blazing through the skies, untouchable, dramatic, and leaving a trail of scorched earth behind him. Flame on indeed.
What? You are gonna be the best mom. Oh my God.
And you are gonna be the best dad. Just kidding. You are out of your depth. But we're gonna be the best uncles ever.
This guy's more than just a hothead. Let's break down why Johnny Storm is an absolute flamethrower of a D&D character. He's got firepower. And no, I don't just mean he's hitting hard. The man's a walking natural disaster. With Fireball, Agonizer Scorcher, Wall of Fire, Immolation, Investiture of Flame, Firestorm, and Meteor Swarm, and so many more I can't even list them all, you've basically got an elemental nuke on your team. Add Elemental Adept for fire, so fire resistance just doesn't matter anymore, and Empowered Spell to reroll low damage dice, and he's not just burning bridges, he's melting the whole town. Oh, and he's immune to fire, lightning, and thunder damage, and resistant to cold. Johnny's never getting frostbite, but he might be the reason the climate crisis accelerates. He's got fast flight too. Forget a sports car. Johnny's got magical flight, and with haste running, he can hit speeds up to 370 feet in a single turn. That's not battlefield mobility, that's leaving combat entirely, roasting a pizza, and flying back before the start of initiative. And he's charismatic. An 18 in charisma, with persuasion, intimidation, and performance proficiencies, plus commanding presence and silvery barbs, means Johnny doesn't just light up the room, he controls it. Whether he's charming the crowd, flexing on villains, or twisting fate to his favor with a well-timed barbs, he's making sure the spotlight and the dice are always on his side. And he's an AoE menace. Why duel one guy when you can obliterate everyone? Johnny's spell list is built for crowd control. From Fireball to Meteor Swarm, he's scorching the field with the best AoEs the game has to offer. And with Careful Spell, he'll keep his allies safe while everything else turns to cinders. No friendly fire here. Well, I guess unless you deserve it. Johnny might be the hottest member of the Fantastic Four, but that doesn't mean this build is without its burn marks. Let's take a look at what brings the heat down. He's a one-trick pony. If it doesn't burn, he's got problems. Fire-immune enemies are basically playing on easy mode, since Johnny's arsenal is 90% fire, 9% lightning, and 1% yelling flame on and hoping for the best. Meteor Swarm doesn't help when your opponent lives in a volcano. He's also really squishy. With only a 14 AC and 148 hit points, Johnny's about as durable as a cheap space heater. No shield spell, no absorb elements, no reliable healing. If he gets caught off guard, he's toast. And not the breakfast kind. Honestly, without Sue around to bubble wrap him, he's going to go down faster than his reputation at a press conference. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, Storm Sorcerer. Yeah, we know Pyromancer exists, but it's not official, and we're not about to tell people they have to buy some third-party PDF just to make Johnny Storm work. We also consider Draconic Sorcerer, but scales, slow fight, and generic buffs just weren't the vibe. Storm Sorcerer is technically the best legal option, even if it means our fire guy gets lightning powers. Just pretend it's the Avatar lightning bending thing. Or don't. I don't know. I'm not your dad. And that's Johnny Storm, brought to you legally and flamingly into the world of 5e. If you enjoyed watching us turn an incorrigible hothead into a sorcerous war crime, blaze a trail down to the comments and tell us what character you'd like to see next. Or just let us know how many times you've accidentally fireballed your party. While you're there, hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell like it's a sprinkler system in the Baxter building. We've got fresh builds every week, and unlike Johnny, we promise not to burn you. You can also grab this build and all of our other builds for free over on Patreon. The link's in the description. Well, that's it for now, so until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Say that again?